Hello, I'm Bill Leopold, and welcome to this edition of Breakfast at the Barracks. Joining me today is Heather McKay, Director for the Sloan Center on Innovative Training and Workforce Development at Rutgers, New Brunswick. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you start with kind of jumping in and talking to us about the center's mission and kind of what it does?
Sure. The Center for Women in Work has been around since 1993. It's based at the School of Management and Labor Relations here at Rutgers, and we focus on three main things. One is working families. We do research and programs on working families issues. We also look at education and career development. We house the Non-Traditional Career Resource Center, which serves students from 7th to 12th grade, to look at careers that might not be specific to their gender or might not necessarily be a thing that they would jump to originally, looking at boys jumping into nursing, women into engineering, things like that. And then there's the part that I focus on at the center, which is workforce development. And we do research and programs in workforce development, looking at tying low-skill Americans to better jobs and to career ladders towards self-sufficiency.
So it sounds to me as though the potential for this recession may have had an impact on your population. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what they're going through and kind of what's happening with your center around that population?
Absolutely. There's a lot going on. I think people have been reading in the newspapers about all of the unemployed Americans throughout the country. And one of the big problems for many unemployed people throughout the country is that they don't have the skills they need to get a new job.
All right.
So training and education is really, really important. So what we focus on the workforce development side and at the Sloan Center is looking at providing different types of training and education to get people in high demand industries within their states. We work all around the country to do this. And what we've been doing right now is running a Department of Labor project. We're doing the evaluation of that program, and that program's focus is to provide people with skills training online to fit into their lives, so that if you're a working mom, you don't have to worry about going to class at 7 o'clock at night every Wednesday, but you can have your training fit into your life and have your training be something that's going to help you to get that employment that you need and to support your family. So that's one of the things that we've been focusing on there. And this training has mostly been occupationally based training. So we're looking at putting people into pharmacy tech jobs, things like that. But since the recession, we've also been thinking about providing people with higher credentials that might lead them to better career ladders.
Right.
So we've been looking at putting people through the last few credits they might need towards a college education, and we actually recently received a grant to do that from the Nicholson Foundation for Education, and we're really excited about this program. It's going to be in 2 states originally, Mississippi and Pennsylvania, and then we're going to expand to 4 states.
Okay.
And we're looking to put this all over the country and really think about how we can serve the workforce development system in a way that makes sure that people are prepared for the careers that are available out there.
Well, let me back up just a little bit so I can make sure I can catch up. So you all are nationally recognized for the programs that you kind of do, and you're working in, for the most part, all 50 states in some way or another.
Yes.
And you talked about that you're doing occupation-specific training in terms of being able to get there. What are some of the occupations right now that are in demand for kind of this area, or is it regional in some ways?
It depends on states, it depends on regions, it depends on where you live in a state. So right now I'm working with Maine, Mississippi, and Pennsylvania. We're also working a little bit with New Jersey. The Center for Women in Work does a lot of work in New Jersey. The specific projects that I'm working on aren't focused in this state right now, but we hope to bring New Jersey on board. But different areas are in demand. Healthcare throughout the country, IT throughout the country. These are things that are in demand, people are training for, and there are jobs everywhere. So
do you all, in terms of occupational training, kind of hook up with another corporation, another training center somewhere in those areas, or do you run those programs from curriculum design to delivery? How does that happen with you? We don't run the programs, but different agencies run the programs. So proprietary schools and states run workforce development training programs. Also universities like Rutgers. So Rutgers has areas that train adults coming back for education, and many other state universities throughout the country do that as well. So we're traditionally working with unemployed for workforce development folks, so if they don't have money to go back to school, how do they find the funding to be able to enroll in a program that helps them to get a job through a new occupation? What we've done through the Department of Labor program that I'm working on currently is to use workforce development funds through the Workforce Investment Act. So when people are unemployed, they go to a one-stop or a career center, whatever it's called in their state. Okay. They apply for unemployment, and they can also get training and education dollars when they go there sometimes, if they
are eligible for those training dollars. So if they get training dollars, then they can enroll in a course that might lead them to employment. And usually it's about a $3,000 stipend for someone to get training.
Okay.
And people enroll in different programs. The specific programs that I'm working on are pilots. So there's certain funds set aside for those training programs. And what we're doing with the Lumina project is using existing funds as well, Workforce Investment Act dollars, about $3,000 to give people the last 3 to 12 credits they might need towards an associate's or a bachelor's degree.
So does that mean then in part of your research you're doing the curriculum development in terms of enrollment? Are you doing from enrollment to employment? How does that kind of work for you guys? We're
not doing a lot of the curriculum development. What we're doing is the policy, shifting policy, looking at states' policies to make sure, one, that they can use online learning in their workforce development systems, two, that they can provide people with maybe college credits or occupational training through their workforce development systems, making sure states know how to do this, helping them work through that, and then seeing what kind of improvements we can make throughout the process. So what we run at the Center for Women in Work are often process evaluations. So we work with states, we work with other organizations like departments of labor, federally and state departments of labor, to make sure that they can run successful programs in their states and utilize what they've got available. So the funds they've got available, the policies they've got available, and the workforce they've got available within the Career Center system to make sure that people can get the training and education they need to really jump forward. One of the big problems in the workforce development system today in many states is that it's set up for a short-term recession. And today we have a long-term recession. We've got a recession that's been going on and people are unemployed for over a year now. We're talking about extending unemployment benefits because people aren't finding jobs. So what we really need to do is rethink what we're training people for, rethink what skills we need to give people in order to get to employment.
Right. So when we're looking at especially long-term unemployment, are those folks allowed to enroll in multiple skill sets if an occupation is not suited for them? Like, for instance, how do you choose an occupation? How do you do some of that career development to make sure you're choosing the right field for yourself?
The career development is done really well through the existing workforce development system in the country. When someone comes into a one-stop, they get counseled by a career counselor, and that person will really help them to direct them to what they want to do. But to tell you the truth, I've interviewed thousands of people throughout the country, and people know what they want to do. They know what jobs are available in their community. They know what's out there. They know what their skill sets are. And so many people sort of can direct themselves. They say, you know, I want to go into the healthcare field. I know it's burgeoning. I know there's lots of jobs there. So people really self-select what they want to do and what kind of education they want, which is helpful.
Let's talk about the Lumina Foundation. I want to make sure we talk about this project because I think it's fascinating. You're working on helping folks complete their degrees. May be completing 3 credits, 6 credits, 9 credits, 12 credits, but they can almost taste it, so to speak. And so you're hoping them get to the end. How do you identify those folks, and how do you kind of help them navigate some of the red tape with some of the institutions to enroll?
Right, so what's going to happen is that we're working with 2 states originally and then 4 states, as I said. And the people are going to come in through the workforce development system. So they're going to come in if they're unemployed and say, I'm looking for training. And what we're hoping to do is then direct them, if they have most of the credits they need towards a college degree, to say, okay, you need 3 to 12 credits. We're going to look at putting you into a correct program. We're working with the Southern Regional Education Board, which is based in the southern states, to provide our training through universities. And there are many universities throughout the South who are going to help us to provide the coursework that's necessary and the degree completion tools that are necessary. At some point in this project, it might be great to bring New Jersey on board and have Rutgers play that role here. We're not at that point yet. Maybe next year or the year after that would happen. But the courses will really be provided through universities throughout the country, the University of Louisiana, the University of Oklahoma, places like that. And as these universities come on board, they'll evaluate each student individually to see if that student meets the muster for the school, and then hopefully we'll be able to provide funding for them to get those last few credits that they might need and get them through the system to an associate's or a bachelor's degree. We're also going to work with community colleges a lot throughout the country because they play a really important role in workforce development and are wonderful granting institutions for these associate's degrees, which also we hope will lead people towards employment.
Now, 2 states that you named couple times during the program have been Pennsylvania and Mississippi. Is there a specific reason why those 2 states are they underemployed, so to speak, or just easy to work with because we started? I mean, how do they figure in?
The reason that we're working with Mississippi and Pennsylvania in this Lumina Foundation project is because it stems from a previous project, the Department of Labor project that I spoke about earlier as well. That project ran a program in 4 states, Maine, Mississippi, Colorado, and Pennsylvania.
Okay.
We developed wonderful partnerships with those states, and Mississippi and Pennsylvania really tied on to the idea of using online learning in their workforce development system to deliver training and education because they are rural states. They don't have great community college systems that are as far-reaching as they need to be. In fact, Pennsylvania in its most rural areas does not have a community college system at all.
Right.
So this was something they really needed. To use online learning to provide the training and education that people need was essential in Pennsylvania so that people could get into the new industries there, like the gas industry, et cetera.
Right. So I'm a little, if we're in a rural area, I don't have a job, I don't have $3,000, I'm looking to do this, how do I get a computer? So students are faced with some technological needs.
Absolutely. The digital divide is a problem. It's certainly something that we've been working on at the center. I worked a little bit last year on the workforce development part of the National Broadband Plan to think about giving access to low-income people throughout the country. People with access to technology often have higher incomes, are a little bit better off. So there is this divide there. There's a divide with owning a computer, and there's also a divide with having access to the internet.
Yes.
People are very creative, though. People find ways to do this, and hopefully hardware and software is something that can be surmounted individually. I spoke to a woman in Maine on an interview a couple of weeks ago, and she was a remarkable lady. She decided to take her coursework in pharmacy tech. She was a bartender, and she had 3 children living in her house with her, and she just couldn't make ends meet as a bartender. So what she did was she made a deal with a local employer who was a friend of hers to go in after hours and use his computers at the office and finished her coursework that way. So people are very creative. People want this kind of training. They want to be able to work again, and people want to be able to make ends meet. And I think the important thing is to make sure that they have that connection. There are many ways that states can do that. Providing hardware and software is a great idea, but we don't always have the funds to do it. So libraries are another great connection. People can go to libraries and universities like this one.
So one of the things you've also brought up is the idea that you interview some of these folks. What are you interviewing for? Are you collecting data? How's it happening for you?
We're collecting data for evaluations in the Department of Labor project and the Lumina Foundation project.
Okay.
And what we're really doing is looking to see how these programs work. Are they good? Are they bad? What are the best parts of them? What are the parts that need fixing? Also, I think that by interviewing the people who are involved in the program, going through training and coursework, we can better understand if it's actually working for them and what we need to do to maybe fit the training into the needs of their lives. Instead of developing a course or a training program that's going to not meet their needs, not fit into their family lives, their caring needs, people care for children, adults, things like that, we are better able to set up a program that's going to serve people.
You know, you're doing such valuable work, and I'm sure folks will see and appreciate kind of what you're doing, and I really appreciate your being here today.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Listen, we'll be right back. So, thanks. Hello, I'm Bill Leipold, and welcome to this edition of Breakfast at the Barracks. Joining me today is Dr. Jaishankar Ganesh, Dean and Professor of Marketing for the Rutgers Business School, Camden. Jai, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I want to jump right in. You do your research on customer satisfaction and the importance of that in terms of the business community. So can you talk a little bit about your research?
Sure. If you look at my most recent research interests and outcomes that have come out of it, I look at where do people buy, why do they buy, what is their value to the firm, how can we measure, capture, and retain the most valuable customers. So if you look at the business climate right now, acquiring customers is extremely important, but also extremely expensive.
Right.
So once you have the customers acquired and they are yours, firms should do anything possible to retain them, but then are all customers worth retaining? That's a big question. So the whole idea of what is the lifetime value of a customer to a firm.
Okay.
So that is a big focus of my studies. So who do you acquire, who do you retain, why, and how do you go about doing that?
Well, one of the things you said is interesting. So how do you help a firm or a business decide who the valuable customer is, and how do you make the decision about, as you said, whether they're worth retaining?
Absolutely. There are multiple ways of going about that. Value is not that easy to measure. Yes, there is financial value in terms of what they buy, how much they spend. There are simple rules of thumbs, what we call simple models we use, which goes with recency. How recently have they purchased your products? Frequency, how frequently do they purchase within say a year or within a cycle, how often they purchase. And monetary value, what's the size of their monetary size of their purchases. So there are some simplistic models like that, but then there are other more complex ways of measuring a customer's lifetime value, which not only looks at their purchase patterns, but what is the word of mouth they spread. If I go and tell something good about the firm to my neighbor, to my friends, and they in turn go and become customers, I've actually served a much bigger role for the firm. So my value to the firm goes above and beyond just what I buy. So trying to capture that, model that, capture that, and then classify customers into various groups based on their value is a big aspect of today's marketing strategy approach.
So is there a big difference between how a big business like Walmart goes about doing that and a small business like an ice cream stand in South Jersey might go about doing that?
Absolutely. An ice cream stand in South Jersey might actually be doing it much better than Walmart. Because to be honest with you, when your customer base is smaller, you pretty much know people from face, from sight. The local mom and pop stores that used to be there knew almost everybody, every single customer of theirs by sight, by name. So it's easy to know who are the good customers, who are the customers who are speaking well of you, how to influence them is much easier. But then when you grow to be the Walmarts of the world, then the customers are databases, entries in your database. So how well I manage my database, how well I handle this information, how well I do this multi-point information gathering and correlate it, that's a key. And so hence it is definitely a different ball game at that level.
I would also think that retaining your customer is always important. I would probably believe that would be more so during a recession period or during an economic downturn in some ways.
That's very true. Absolutely, you're right, because retaining a customer is extraordinarily important. And during an economic downturn, the rubric that you use, the frequency of purchase or the monetary value of purchase might actually be lowered in some instances. So you need to take into account that the customer's value goes beyond what they buy and also what they spread. So it's extremely important from the firm's point of view that instead of me cutting my cost, cutting my price, if I can retain my customers and keep my existing customers happy, actually my margins wise, profitability wise is much better for me than going about spending all the money acquiring new customers every single time, particularly in this recessionary environment.
One of the areas that you alluded to was the word of mouth, the idea of the reputation, so to speak. While we can look at, as you said, databases, and as we can look at sales and returning, it really is honestly that reputation part, that word of mouth piece. How do you begin to even study and or measure that kind of impact?
It's very interesting, when you first start off by looking at word of mouth, there used to be more holistic measures. What we say is when a new product gets introduced into a marketplace, how does it diffuse? How do people buy? And there are mathematical models that capture this effect as one is due to what we call mass media effects. The other is due to opinion leaders and word of mouth effects. So we call the coefficient of innovation and the imitation. So that used to be for a long time a holistic measure of word of mouth or influence of others who have bought the product before you and their positive word of mouth that makes other people buy. But now literature has grown really forward in this area. There are much more sophisticated models of measuring customers' word of mouth impact, and firms are using them actually in a big way. In a big way.
We're going to transition from talking about your research to your new leadership position.
Absolutely.
You joined the Rutgers Business School in Camden.
Yes.
A few months ago.
Yep, 4 months.
And so, in your short time there, kind of what are you thinking about some of the goals you want to accomplish, and kind of what are some of the things that you have on the horizon as somebody who's coming into the position?
If I have to crystallize into one single statement, what I would like to see happen at the Rutgers School of Business in Camden is making the School of Business the school of choice. The school of choice for all high school students in the South Jersey area, the school of choice for top-notch faculty talents who would like to move to Jersey, New Jersey, and to Rutgers, and school of choice for dedicated, involved staff people who would like to be a part of this growth. You know, what really got me attracted to the business school there and the campus is the level of engagement and involvement people had there when I visited them during my interview process. People were really committed to the place, and they wanted to do anything and everything possible to make the place the best possible place. In my 4 months after now that I've been there, it has just been more and more evidence that that's the case. Students who are there are extraordinarily happy with the faculty. There's a personalized feel and touch. It's a small campus. The campus all put is 6,300, and the School of Business is about 1,000 odd. You know, so it's a small campus. So the way we do things are very different. Now the question is, anybody who knows about this campus, student-wise, parents-wise, when they come and engage themselves, they walk out saying, wow, that's awesome, what's going on there is, you know, if you look at the student satisfaction scores across all 3 campuses, Camden is really top, higher. Now the question is, how do you let lot more people know about who we are? You know, why should we be the best kept secret in Delaware Valley? And I look at it slightly more differently. Not just Jersey. Definitely we are the university in South Jersey, no doubt about it, Rutgers campus in South Jersey. But I think we need to go beyond Jersey. We need to go to Pennsylvania. We need to go to other aspects of the country and internationally. We have a global brand, and we have a great location. We need to be able to be a school of choice globally. So that is the whole goal ultimately, eventually.
It's interesting because business schools are really competitive among themselves. You know that. And you're in an area where there are not lots of other, but predominant business schools around you. What, besides the small, and I do agree with you, the small, intimate nature of the classes, the small, intimate nature of the program, what else is a big selling point for you around the Rutgers School of Business?
See, it's a great question. We are located, our location is both our strength as well as an opportunity as well as a challenge, definitely. We are sitting there, we are closest to downtown Philly.
Yes, you are.
As a school, not Wharton, not Temple, not Drexel, Rutgers Camden campus, the closest to downtown Philly. So if you look at it, there are so many good universities within a 10-mile radius of the downtown area. So what differentiates schools? Honestly, if you ask me, all these schools are exceptional schools, very good schools. Everybody does a good job. We do an exceptional job with our faculty. Our faculty are high research caliber faculty who produce good research, also excellent classroom teachers, which I'm sure every other school there is going to say that from Wharton all the way down. Now the question then comes, where is the difference? To me, the difference is we have the global brand Rutgers. We have a global brand behind us, and we offer the brand in a very personalized form. So people who want to experience the Rutgers experience, campus experience, but in a more personalized form, that's what Camden's unique positioning allows us to do. So that I would say is the biggest differentiation.
One of the things that makes business schools successful is their integration to the community around them, and their integration with industry in that area to kind of bring theory to practice.
Yes.
How is currently the Rutgers Business School Camden doing that, and how do you kind of want to expand that a little bit more as you're working as the dean?
Absolutely. I will tackle this in two parts. Although they are interrelated, I like to view it as slightly different approaches need to be put in place to engage the local community and the local businesses.
It's very different.
Yes.
Agreed.
Slightly different strategies are required. With the community, I can tell you one thing. I think Camden campus has been extremely, how do I put it? We have Wendell Pritchett as a chancellor, who's a very inspirational leader, whose vision is a big portion of it is civic engagement.
Right.
So when I was interviewing here, he had come on board a year before, and he had already set the wheels on motion as to what should be the Camden campus's role in the surrounding community. How can we engage the community? How can we be true leaders in that area? And he has been doing an exceptional job there. So what is the business school doing? Business school is a big part of the chancellor's vision here. Think about it. The business school has a small business development center.
Who can help with folks in the community.
We have one of our major areas of scholarship is entrepreneurship and innovation. And we have an incubator on campus. So if we take these three pieces together, that's where the business and the community gets together. The entrepreneurship class, we have students doing projects with local businesses. So local businesses have some problems, issues.
So it's integration with.
Absolutely.
And on the job case studies.
Absolutely. So it's a win-win all the way around. Our students get to really work on a true blue live project. The local businesses get, a benefit of getting consultations from the project outcome, which is chaired by or supervised by a faculty member who's an expert in that area. So it's a win-win all the way around.
You know what? I can't wait to bring you back on the show again. Unfortunately, we're way out of time. I want to bring you back to talk about some of your successes in a year or two. I'm really glad you made your way up today. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much for having me here, and I'll be glad to be back. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Well, for more information about any of the subjects we've discussed here today, please visit our website at rutgers.tv. For all of us at the Rutgers Division of Continuing Studies, I'm Bill Leipold, and thank you for watching.